Point 1. Good always wins over evil, no matter the struggle. Harper Lee's tale is a deep dive into the constant tussle between good and evil, both inside us and in the world around us. This ain't just some highfalutin idea, it's the very backbone of the story, shaping the choices and lives of the folks in it. Take Atticus Finch, for instance. He's a lawyer, but more than that, he's a man who believes in the good in folks. He's got this idea that no matter how much bad there is, good will always come out on top. But that belief gets a real test when he's given the job of defending Tom Robinson, a black man wrongly accused of hurting a white woman. Atticus tries his best to get the jury to see past their own prejudices, to judge Tom on the facts, which all point to him being innocent. But the jury, blinded by their own bias, find Tom guilty. It's a punch in the gut, a clear case of bad winning over good. This verdict shakes Atticus to his core, and it hits his kids, Scout and Jem, hard too. They've been brought up to believe in fairness and justice, and this is a slap in the face. Their childhood innocence is shattered by the ugly truth of the racism and prejudice in their town. Their town, deep in the South during the Great Depression, is a character in itself. The beliefs and biases of the time play a big part in the verdict, leading to an innocent man being found guilty just because of the color of his skin. This whole mess shakes Scout and Jem to their core, making them question their pa's belief in the good in folks. But their faith in good winning over evil gets a boost when they're saved from Bob Ewell, the father of the woman who lied about Tom, by Boo Radley. Boo's a bit of a mystery, feared and shunned by the town, but he turns out to be a real hero. This story is a stark reminder of the ongoing battle between good and evil in our world. It hammers home the idea that even when it looks like the bad guys are winning, we gotta keep believing that good will come out on top. Just like in the story, life can throw us some real curveballs, where it seems like evil's got the upper hand. But with a bit of grit and determination, good will always find a way. Point 2. Education helps keep people on the right moral path. The way a person learns about right and wrong is a tricky business, shaped by a whole heap of things. One of the biggest is schooling. What you learn and the values you pick up in school can color the way you see the world, guiding your thoughts and actions. A good education can light up a person's mind, helping them develop a strong sense of right and wrong. But a poor education can leave a person in the dark, leading to a lack of moral backbone. In the story of Scout, the oldest Finch kid, we see this idea in action. Scout is ahead of her classmates, thanks to the lessons she gets from her father, Atticus, at home. But her teacher isn't too happy about this and tells Scout she can't learn at home anymore. This shows how society often favors school learning, which can sometimes stifle independent thinking and free learning. Atticus Finch, though, gives his kids a different kind of education. He encourages their curiosity, answers their questions honestly, and treats them like they're just as smart as he is. This way of teaching helps them grow morally and intellectually, teaching them to tell right from wrong and understand why they do what they do. But not everyone is a fan of this kind of learning. Some folks who believe in school learning think there are certain things kids shouldn't learn about and that there should be limits to what they can learn. This clash of ideas is clear in Miss Gates, Scout's teacher, who holds some pretty prejudiced views. She says something as awful as the Holocaust could never happen in America, but she thinks it's okay for African Americans in their own country to be treated unfairly. This contrast between learning at home and learning at school shows the potential problems with the latter. School learning can sometimes fail to help kids grow into morally upright adults, focusing more on memorizing facts than thinking critically and understanding right from wrong. But it's important to remember that learning at home isn't a surefire solution either. How well it works depends a lot on the person doing the teaching. A parent who doesn't have good morals can't teach their kids to have them. In the best-case scenario, like with Atticus Finch, learning at home can be a lot better than learning at school. It encourages kids to be curious, think for themselves, and develop a strong sense of right and wrong. But the key is the quality of the education and the moral character of the person doing the teaching. Point 3. Social class shouldn't determine how people are treated. In Harper Lee's tale, we're taken to the small town of Macomb, Alabama, where the folks live by a strict pecking order. It ain't about who you are or what you've done, but more about where you come from, how much money you got, and the color of your skin. Take the Finch family, for example. They're seen as high and mighty, not because they're better folks, but because they've been around a long time and got a bit of money. Then you got the Cunninghams, hard-working farmers, but folks look down on them just because they ain't got much. This unfairness is plain as day when young Scout is told she shouldn't be friends with Walter Cunningham. It ain't because Walter's a bad kid, he's as good as they come. But because his family ain't high up on the social ladder, he's seen as less. It's a clear example of how wrong it is to judge a person by their social standing instead of who they are. It's even worse for the black folks in Macomb. They work hard and live right, but just because of their skin color, they're seen as the lowest of the low. It's a harsh reminder of how folks can be treated unfairly for things they can't control, like their race or where they come from. But then there's Atticus Finch, Scout's pa. He believes in treating everyone right, no matter who they are or where they come from. He teaches Scout and her brother, Jem, to see folks for who they are, not what they are. It's a powerful lesson that goes against the grain, calling for a fairer way of living. Sadly, this ain't just a problem in Macomb. Even today, folks are judged and treated differently because of their social standing, how much money they got, their race, and other things that don't really say who they are. It ain't right, and it goes against the idea that everyone should be treated with respect and dignity, no matter who they are or where they come from. In the end, Harper Lee's tale is a strong critique of social inequality, showing how it leads to unfair treatment and discrimination. It calls for a world where folks are seen for who they are, not what they are. It's a message that rings true not just in Macomb, but in our world today, reminding us of the importance of fairness and equality in how we treat each other. Point 4. We should always protect and grow the good in us. At the heart of Harper Lee's tale is a simple, yet profound truth, the need to cherish and protect the goodness that resides in all of us. This truth is symbolized by a creature as innocent and harmless as a mockingbird. In the story, Atticus Finch, a father to Scout and Jem, hands them air guns but with a stern warning. He tells them they can aim at anything, except the mockingbirds. Why? Because, as Atticus puts it, mockingbirds don't do a thing but make music for us to enjoy. They don't eat up people's gardens or nest in corn cribs, they just sing their hearts out. That's why it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. This isn't just about the birds, mind you. It's a lesson about not hurting those who mean no harm. Take Tom Robinson, for instance. He's a good man, falsely accused of a crime he didn't commit. Yet, the town, blinded by prejudice, convicts him. It's like they've killed a mockingbird. They've harmed an innocent soul. This lesson isn't just about others, it's about us too. We've all got a bit of that mockingbird in us, that goodness that needs to be cherished and protected. It's easy to let the world's harsh realities tarnish that goodness. But we've got to fight against that. We've got to keep that goodness alive, just like we protect a harmless mockingbird. In the end, this tale is a reminder of the importance of standing up for what's right, of protecting the innocent, and of nurturing the goodness within us. It's a lesson that's as important today as it was when it was first told. So, let's remember to protect our own mockingbirds, and those of others too. Point 5. Try to see things from other people's point of view. In Harper Lee's timeless tale, the notion of seeing life through another's eyes is a key theme. This idea, often called empathy, is the knack of understanding and sharing another's feelings. It's like stepping out of your own boots and into someone else's, to see the world as they do. It's not just about getting their point of view, but also feeling their emotions. Atticus Finch, a lawyer and father to our young heroine Scout, often stresses the importance of empathy. He tells Scout to understand folks by considering things from their angle, by climbing into their skin and walking around in it. This wisdom isn't just for Scout's relationship with her brother Jem, but for all the folks she meets in her life. For example, when Scout can't make heads or tails of her reclusive neighbor Boo Radley, Atticus nudges her to see things from Boo's side. Boo, who at first seems scary and mysterious, is later understood and empathized with, as Scout learns about his life and why he keeps to himself. This change in viewpoint lets Scout see Boo as a kind and protective figure, not a source of fear. In the same way, when Scout and Jem faced the racial prejudice and injustice in their town during Tom Robinson's trial, Atticus pushes them to understand the viewpoints of the folks around them. Despite the widespread racist attitudes, Atticus defends Tom, a black man wrongly accused of a terrible crime, and tries to make his children understand the deep-rooted biases and prejudices that shape folks' viewpoints. In our own lives, this idea is just as important. Misunderstandings and conflicts often come from a lack of empathy and an inability to see things from another's viewpoint. This can be seen in all sorts of situations, from personal relationships to bigger societal issues like racial discrimination, religious conflicts, and wars. By understanding and empathizing with others' viewpoints, we can encourage understanding, lessen conflicts, and foster a more peaceful coexistence. In the end, Harper Lee's tale underscores the importance of empathy and understanding others' viewpoints. This not only broadens our own horizons but also helps us navigate our relationships and interactions with others more effectively. By adopting this approach, we can contribute to a more understanding and peaceful society. Point 6. Racism makes life harder for marginalized people and needs to stop. Racism, that ugly belief that one color of skin is better or worse than another, is a big roadblock to treating everyone the same, no matter who they are or where they come from. This way of thinking has caused a heap of hurt to folks seen as less than, making their lives a whole lot harder. This idea of racism is right at the heart of Harper Lee's story, all tangled up with who's who in the town. The story takes place back when times were tough, and black folks were pushed to the side and treated like they didn't matter. They weren't even allowed to mix with white folks in public places, like courtrooms. It was so bad that a black person and a white person couldn't even get married. The racism is as clear as day in the trial of Tom Robinson, a black man. Because of his skin color, he didn't stand a chance of getting a fair shake. Even though the facts were on his side, he was found guilty and killed just because he was black. This shows the harsh truth about racism: it can trample over what's right and fair. But not everyone in the story thinks this way. Atticus Finch and his kids, Scout and Jem, believe that everyone's equal, no matter their skin color. But they're just a small part of the town, and their beliefs aren't enough to change the way most folks think. This idea of racism is also part of the bigger fight between good and bad, with racism being the bad and those fighting for everyone to be treated the same being the good. In the story, it might seem like the bad wins, especially when Tom Robinson is found guilty. But Atticus tells his kids to keep believing in the fight for what's right and fair. He teaches them to keep going, even when things get tough, and to always stand up for what's right. In the end, this story shows just how much damage racism can do to people and to society. It shows how important it is to stand up against these harmful beliefs and fight for everyone to be treated the same. The story is a reminder that the fight against racism isn't over, and that we need to keep working hard to make sure everyone is treated fairly and equally. Point 7. Stand up bravely against injustice. The idea that, "Courage is the only way to truly face and fight injustice," is a key message in Harper Lee's tale. It suggests that standing up to wrongs requires guts, as it often means going against the grain, dealing with harsh words, and even putting oneself in harm's way. In this story, Atticus Finch is the embodiment of this idea. He's a lawyer who stands up for Tom Robinson, a black man wrongly accused of a crime against a white woman in a society steeped in racism. Despite the widespread bias and the almost certain loss, Atticus steps up to represent Tom, showing remarkable courage. Atticus's choice to defend Tom isn't well received. He's met with harsh criticism and hostility from the townsfolk, who see his actions as a betrayal of his own kind. His kids, Scout and Jem, also bear the brunt of this, facing bullying and taunts. But Atticus stands firm, believing in the need to stand up for what's right, even when it's tough and unpopular. One of the most powerful displays of Atticus's courage is when he stands watch outside the jail where Tom is held, fully aware that a mob is coming to take Tom's life. Despite the looming threat, Atticus holds his ground, refusing to let the mob take justice into their own hands. This act of bravery not only safeguards Tom but also serves as a strong lesson for Scout and Jem about the importance of courage when facing injustice. Atticus also imparts to his children that real courage isn't about physical might or aggression, but about moral strength. He tells them that it's wrong to kill a mockingbird, a metaphor for causing harm to innocent folks. When Scout and Jem find themselves in threatening situations, he urges them to react with empathy and kindness, rather than violence. In a nutshell, Harper Lee's tale shows that standing up to and challenging wrongs requires courage. It involves standing up for what's right, even when it's not the popular or safe thing to do. It also involves teaching the younger generation the importance of moral courage and the value of treating everyone with fairness and respect. This is the kind of courage that can truly fight injustice and bring about real change. Point 8. Know your rights and the laws that protect them. The heart of the matter here is the power and importance of understanding and using the laws that are meant to safeguard our basic human rights. This is a central theme in Harper Lee's tale, where the law is painted as a mighty tool that can be wielded to combat social wrongs. Take Atticus Finch, the lawyer, for instance. He's a firm believer in the law and its ability to uphold justice and shield the innocent. The trial of Tom Robinson, a black man wrongly accused of assaulting a white woman, is a perfect example. Despite the racially tense environment and the societal pressure to go along with the prevailing racist views, Atticus uses the law as his shield and sword to fight for Tom's rights and to challenge the deep-rooted prejudices of the community. But the story also shows us the two-faced nature of the law. It can be a force for good, but it can also be twisted and used for wicked ends. This is clear in the case of Bob Ewell, who is allowed to hunt out of season, a blatant disregard of the law. Yet, he's allowed to do so because it's the only way he can feed his family. This shows how the law can be bent to fit certain situations, which can lead to unfair advantages. Then there's the case of Boo Radley, who kills Bob Ewell in self-defense. By the book, Boo should face trial for his actions. But the law is bent in his favor to save him from public scrutiny and embarrassment. This again shows how the law can be twisted, this time to shield an individual from the harsh realities of the legal system. These examples show the complicated nature of the law. On one side, it's a mighty tool that can be used to uphold justice and protect human rights. On the other side, it can also be twisted and used for unjust ends. That's why it's so important to understand the law and its implications to effectively use it to uphold human rights and fight against social wrongs. In a nutshell, Harper Lee's tale underscores the importance of understanding and using the law to uphold basic human rights. It shows that while the law can be a mighty tool for justice, it can also be twisted for wicked ends. So, it's crucial to arm ourselves with the knowledge of the law to effectively fight against social wrongs. Point 9. Conclusion. Injustice and prejudice are deeply ingrained in society, but it is through understanding and empathy that we can begin to overcome these issues. The innocence of childhood often sees the world in black and white, but as we grow, we learn that life is filled with shades of gray. It is important to stand up for what is right, even when the world is against you. The concept of killing a mockingbird symbolizes the destruction of innocence. In life, there are many mockingbirds, individuals who are innocent and mean no harm but are still victimized by the harsh realities of our society. It is our duty to protect these individuals and fight against the injustices they face. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to face it. It is about doing what is right, even when it is difficult. It is about standing up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. Understanding and compassion are the keys to breaking down the barriers of prejudice. By stepping into another's shoes, we can begin to understand their perspective and treat them with the respect and dignity they deserve. In the end, it is not about winning or losing, but about standing up for what is right and fighting for justice. It is about preserving humanity in a world that often seems devoid of it.